Blessed love. Are we live already? Give thanks for life and a mighty life giver. Definitely give thanks, as this was like a real, fast life. As so long we have been away. Definitely we give thanks for this opportunity to be with you live today on Kailash Television, and definitely this evening we're going to just be focusing a bit on what we refer to as the male reproductive system. And what we are going to be speaking of is exactly how is it that the male reproductive system actually functions, and how is it that a man himself, how a man could actually work towards uplifting himself and ensuring that his physical structure is functioning to the best of its capacity. So it's going to be a very interesting program. So it's a program that you definitely need to have your pen and your paper, a program that you would need to take notes, because it's a noteworthy program. So definitely we're just going to go very straight into it, as most times people don't really fully understand what we refer to as what the male reproductive system is, and even how the whole process of exactly how a man's physical structure does actually function, how it is that a man would basically come from boyhood into adulthood, and the different hormones and the different aspects of it. So this evening, what we're going to do, we're just going to be going straight into the whole realms of the male reproductive system. Our previous live program, we went into the realms of the female reproductive system, and my beloved brother here said, well, because we showed a picture of the vagina, Facebook actually flagged us that that we're not supposed to be showing like live pictures of vaginas and these type of things. But we did show a picture of that it was showing the whole aspect of how the vagina is shaped and the different parts of the vagina. And today what we are going to do, we are going to go through the whole aspect of the male reproductive system, and how it is that the male reproductive system is actually organized, and how is it that it actually functions. Because what we found out is that over the years is that a lot of the woman and the man don't even know exactly how is it that their own physical structure actually function, and what are the different things that they could actually utilize to boost up their physical structure. Give thanks for all those of you who are live with us on the Food of Seven on Kailash Television. We are live on Kailash Television, and for those of you who are also live with us on Instagram, we are not live on YouTube today, but we are definitely live on Instagram. But we are live on the YouTube page of Kailash. So if you want to go live on YouTube, you could stream. We'll be streaming live on Kailash on YouTube for those people who want to actually see it exactly how it is specifically. So give thanks for all the people who are with us today, and those people who will be coming in shortly. Heart of love to one and all. I just wanted to, before we go into the male reproductive system, this is just one of the products that our rebranding of our products have actually been completed, and this is what our products would actually be looking like. So this is like the fertility specifically for the woman. So this is what is in Kailash. That's what everything actually looks like now. So those people who want to get more fertile, definitely they could look for the fertility. So we will go straight into the whole realms of things. Let me just, for those people on Instagram, let me just try to get that screen a bit for them, so at least they could get a view of what we are talking about on Kailash Television. So what we are seeing on screen here is basically the progression of a male child from the 2 years to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16, what you call puberty, all the way up to 25, when this man is a man-child, is basically an adult. So what we are seeing is the development of what we refer to as the genitalia, right? So when a man-child is actually 3 years old from a baby, you know, even in the womb, you know, what we understand is that the different sex determination is decided by the Y chromosome. So you have a female is XX and a male is an XY. So as we were having a reasoning first night, and my Empress was saying, yeah, everybody is born a woman first and then we differentiate into a man. Yes, 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 yes. So then basically the presence of the Y chromosome, which is basically the determining factor, the determining chromosome of whether you are a man child or a female or a woman child, is very key. So when a man actually comes together with a woman, a man could, when you have the 23 chromosomes from the man and 23 chromosomes from the woman, giving the 46 chromosomes, what happens is that at that point, whether or not that child XX or that child is XY, XX being the female child and XY being the male child, is dependent upon whether that Y chromosome or an X chromosome is actually given by the man. So when you have XX by XY, you have a 50% chance of developing into a man child or a female child, which is determined by what chromosome that the man child the man in the relationship actually passes on to the woman. So within that realms there, from about in the first trimester, which is about the first 3 months of pregnancy, what it is when the sex of the child is actually determined. So if it is that you actually do an ultrasound probably after 1 month of pregnancy, it will be very difficult for you to see whether the child is a man or a woman child, because the gonads, the vagina or the testicles have not been fully formed yet. So you won't be able to have an ultrasound and actually see the testicles, or have an ultrasound or be able to see the vagina of that child, because it is at the closer to the end of the first trimester is when that you have that determination of whether you have a man child or whether you have a woman child, which is actually very, very, very important. So sex determination is basically in man, in human beings, in different types of animals, right? Insects, you have different, it's different, you know. So different type of insects, you have the determination is not determined by the male, it's determined by the female. But in man, the sex of the child is determined by the male aspect, and that is because the man can either give an X chromosome or a Y chromosome. So if you have XX, then you are female. If you have XY, then you are a male. So if the man gives an X to the female's X, then you have XX, then it becomes a female child. And if the man gives a Y, then you have XY, and it's a male child. So whenever you have a Y chromosome, this child there becomes a male child. Very significant that we understand that. So after the whole process of sexual determination, whereby you have a man child or a female child within the womb now, what happens is that you have second trimester, you know, and then you had the third trimester, and then the child is actually pushed out of the womb as a man child. So the testicles of the man is basically not, let me just see if I could just show you something here. The testicles of the man is not inside of the physical structure. The testicles of the man is basically outside. The testicles lies on the outside. So when we look at here and we are seeing the testicles, right? The testicles are basically lying on the outside, you know. So the testicles are lying on the outside. So the scrotum, which is that sac here with the testicles inside of it, the testes inside of it, is on the outside of the physical structure. So while the child is in the womb, after that sex have been determined, the testes, right, would have been inside and then descends and comes on the outside of the physical structure. So this is very important that we understand that. We're gonna get forward to that in a little bit, right? So when we look at this diagram here, we see, well, at the first stage of development after birth, what happens is that the sex of the child has not actually has been determined. The child is born. He's a 3-year-old young man, and his penis is seen to be very small. His penis is small. His testicles is small. And after, when it comes to the age of 10, when you have the onset of what you refer to as puberty, 10, 11, 12, 13, when this child here is actually get a boost up in the level of testosterone, the male hormone, what you call the androgens, right? What happens is that you have an increase in the size of the testicles of the child, and also an increase of the size of the penis of the child, and also you have an increase in the amount of pubic hair. So by the age of 16, when this person goes through puberty, or what we refer to as adolescence, you'd see that the testicles of this male child is becoming more developed, and also the penis has actually gotten a lot bigger. You know, so at that point in time, then the sperm within the testicles of the man, the testes of the man, has actually reached a point of maturity whereby this man-child hair can specifically be able to what you would be called ejaculate, and then actually get a woman pregnant because of that maturity of what you refer to as the sperm within the testes. So from birth, there is always what you call spermatozoa within the testicles, right, or what you call spermatids, right? But these spermatids, they are not developed. It's after puberty, when you have that surge of testosterone, then you have the whole aspect of the full development of the spermatids into what you refer to as sperms or spermatozoa, and then now you could have that ejaculation, and you could have sperm going into the vagina of the woman through the cervix, into the uterine cavity, into the fallopian tube, the ampulla, and fertilizing that egg, and you have what you call conception. So at the age of what you refer to as 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, when that child is actually fully mature, fully developed into a man-child, then you could see, well, okay, well, the penis is bigger, much bigger, you know, and also the testes of that man-child is basically, the testicles are fully developed, and it's much, much bigger than it was when he was at least 3 years old. So let us look at the whole anatomy of the male child, okay? So if we look at the anatomy, what we are seeing here is this. All right, so we have the penis of the man. This here is the penis of the man, okay? This aspect is the penis, and the penis, going right through the penis, you have the urethra, and the head of the penis is called the glands of the penis, the glands of the penis. So the glands of call it the glands of the penis because it's the most sensitive aspect of the penis. This is where it has the most nerve endings, right? So this is what actually, through stimulation, a man could get an erection which is as a result of a surge in testosterone and nitric oxide, right? And also through stimulation, this man there could ejaculate and release sperm out of the testes, right, and go right back into the physical structure and come out into the vagina of the woman. So this here is the glands of the penis, and here you have the urethral opening at the top of the penis, and this here is called the urethra. Now the urethra is basically that tubule, that pathway, that connection coming straight out of the urinary bladder. So this here is the urinary bladder, right? This is where urine is actually formed, coming out of the kidneys. So the ureter, not the urethra, the ureter will actually take the liquid out of the kidneys, the waste liquid, and actually store it right within the urinary bladder. Now when this is actually stored in the urinary bladder, right, and the man needs to urinate, right, the urine is actually released from the urinary bladder and goes right through this hair. Right, you have your prostate gland here, this yellow looking gland here, the walnut sized gland. That's a prostate gland, and that's the seminal vesicles here, right? And this hair actually is what secretes, right, semen, right? And the prostate gland is what actually produces the testosterone and also secretes also nutrients right into the urethra that joins the sperm when the sperm is actually going out of the testicles of the man into the vagina of the woman. Very important. So when a man urinates, the urine actually comes out of the urinary bladder, goes right through the urethra, and it passes the urethra, goes through, cuts through, goes through right through the prostate gland, then out through the penis, and goes to the outside. All right? So this is very important. The vas deferens now, this here called the vas deferens right here, is that other tubule that actually connects the testes all the way right to into the prostate and joins right in with the seminal vesicle and out of the urethra, out through the penis, through the urethral opening. And the epididymis is actually where you have the storage of most of your spermatids, right? The unmature sperms, right? That actually goes through that whole process of maturity. And here you could see, well, this is the anus, right? And this is the descending colon, okay? And the rectum is right here, okay? And that is why if you actually see the proximity, how close you have. Okay, here you have the rectum and then you have the prostate. That's why when you have what you call a bimanual examination, the doctor can push their finger right in the anus of the man and press towards the testicles and could actually feel the prostate to see whether the prostate is swollen or not. So the same way, if it is that you are constipated and the entire colon is actually filled with feces, with poo-poo, caca, right, what it does now, it could actually put a pressure right onto the prostate. Let's say this is full of poo-poo, or you have hemorrhoids, or you have any aspect here, right, a swollen there, you have varicose veins, anything happening within that area here, you could put an additional strain or pressure on the prostate that could actually cause a difficulty in urination or a burning in urination because of inflammatory changes within that area right here. It's very key, very important that we understand that the anus, right, and the rectum and the colon, the descending colon right here, right, is extremely close to what we refer to as the prostate. Okay, so when a man urinates, okay, the urine actually comes out of the urinary bladder, okay, goes right through the prostate via the urethra, all right, and through the urethra it goes out of the penis, and that man here could actually urinate. All right, key, very important. So let's say that you have some problem with your prostate. Let's say that the prostate is enlarged, or let's say that the prostate is inflamed for whatever reason. You have an infection, and when this prostate gets inflamed or enlarged, or it gets bigger, and the size of the prostate gets bigger, then you have an additional amount of pressure being placed upon the bladder. So when a man now begins to develop prostatic problems, the reason why you have an increase in frequency of urination is because as the prostate gets bigger, it becomes larger, there is an increased pressure applied upon the urinary bladder, causing an increased urgency. So this man then begins to want to urinate more. He feel like he wants to urinate. Oh, I want to urinate. I want to urinate. Why? Because the prostate gland is enlarged and is putting additional pressure upon the urinary bladder that contains the urine. So you have that urgency of wanting to urinate more. Now, if this prostatic hyperplasia, if this inflammation, right, happens and it becomes so swollen, it could actually compress, squeeze that little tubule here and make it very difficult for urine to actually pass from the bladder and then out through the urethra, out of the penis. So then you come to that increase in frequency and you have an increase in urgency, but it's difficult for you to urinate freely because of the compression of the urethra that actually traverses through the prostate. Very important that we understand that. Very, very, very important. So you have the prostate